We can now replace the movie Hoosiers with Gene Hackman and, of course, the great basketball film with the real-life Hoosiers, which is better than any movie I think that anybody could ever come up with, man. The losingest team in Division I college football, history, Steve, I think?
It was. I think they may have passed somebody or two, kind of like the Bucs did with Tom Brady. They were the worst.
But in the not too far distant past, that was their claim to fame.
Mm-hmm.
Curt Cignetti comes in. They go undefeated. What a game that they had in the national championship against Miami. It came right down to the wire. One of the guttiest calls I think I've ever seen by Cignetti, and of course his quarterback Fernando Mendoza pulling it off on a draw play for a touchdown, and just the fourth down at that. We can get into all of that, but man, just the macro of this, it was a tremendous game. Literally came down to the wire, an interception at the end to seal it for Indiana. But if you had a script writer, and this is what's so great about sports, and we can try to muddy it up with NIL and Mark Cuban's money and just whatever complaint you have about college athletics these days, but the greatest thing about sport is that it's not scripted, and that it is real and unpredictable, and you can have these ridiculous sort of rags to riches type turnarounds, and I know a lot of that has to do with the rules and things, but man, I mean, this was just a great game, phenomenal season, terrific player in the Heisman Trophy winner, and just the way he went about his business. It was just everything you'd want in a national championship game. And, either team could have won right to the end. I couldn't get enough of it. I was captivated by every minute.
The shame is now we're, now till September or late August until we get another college football game.
It's I literally said that when I go, wow, that's the end of the college football season. Yep. It sucks.
Well, and it's going to be 370 days until the next national championship, because it's on January 25th next year.
My God.
Based on the way the schedule works out. So it's going to be more than a year until the next national title.
That's crazy. Wow, that's a long time.
But, I mean, I know that a lot of people thought Indiana would roll in this game. I thought it would be a close game, and it was. And Miami had every shot to win. Their
right to the end.
Their offensive and defensive lines were spectacular, which Miami's is. I mean, that was their strength going into this game, and where they were better than Indiana, and they showed it.
Absolutely.
And just a spectacular game, and what a play call by Cignetti. What a defensive play call on the interception too. Into throwing that ball.
Yeah. They kind of he didn't really see the coverage that well. Guy undercut it, and
he underthrew the ball too, back through.
Yeah, it wasn't a great throw, but I can see why he took that shot. I mean, listen, the easy thing, probably the smart thing to do there would have been to just kick the field goal, But I mean, to make that call based on what you had seen on defense, what you expected to see on the next play, and then just the effort, right? It's one thing to get the first down, but Mendoza just sells out. And that kid, don't ever question his toughness. He took an absolute beating in this game from early on, and some late hits, some hits that should have been flagged, quite frankly. Got his lip bloodied pretty early. Did not blink. I could see why. And by the way, Tom Brady, John Spytek, and Mark Davis were all on the sideline before the game. Knowing Tom Brady and although there are reports that they're trying to they would like to trade for Lamar Jackson, which would be interesting. But failing that, knowing Tom Brady, I can't imagine that he wouldn't maybe even really like Mendoza, because of the way he is just so dialed in and rarely fooled, so prepared, accurate, and tough as hell. Wins from the pocket, but has enough mobility to do things like he did with the quarterback draw, and is just a winner. And his story is obviously compassionate with his family and his mom with MS and all of that. But going back home to his hometown and this is a storybook stuff. You cannot. If we sat down and wrote the script, they would reject it. They say it's too schmaltzy. This wouldn't happen, and it did. And that's what we love about sports, man.
It is. I mean, I was trying to think of other stories like this in sports. This bad of a team that we know the Bucs were the worst team in the NFL as far as winning percentage. They go on to win the Super Bowl. It was their second Super Bowl, right? But like Leicester City in the Premier League, 10 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was a story.
Everybody to win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe the biggest one I can think of that equates to this.
Right.
Granted, it's a 2-year turnaround. It wasn't in 1 year. I mean, Indiana won 10 games or whatever it was last year.
Yeah.
But as second thought as they were for generations, as far as football goes, to have these 2 seasons, just incredible, man. And Curt Cignetti, when he got hired, said, "I just win. Google me." There's a lot of other teams that wish there's a lot of teams that wish they had Googled him before that.
Oh yeah, they do. And he's 60-something years old, and he got a huge salary from Indiana, and everybody came after him and said, well, "Why don't you come coach our team?" And basically, in so many words, his reaction was, "You had your chance." Which is, where were you when I wanted a job in the Big Ten and nobody wanted me?
Yep.
Indiana took a gamble. They gave it to me, and I'm forever loyal. And man,
my alma mater was one of those. The year before, they interviewed him, Cincinnati.
Is that right?
Interviewed him for their opening, but he didn't have any Power 4 experience as they were going to the Big 12, and so they didn't hire him.
Yeah, I bet they regret that now, as do a lot of people. But man, he's a hell of a coach. And it's funny because, his demeanor on the sideline, he literally did not smile, I think, until the Gatorade hit him. But they don't make mistakes. They make very few mistakes. I'll tell you something else too, though, and almost annoyingly so. People want the players to decide the game on the field, but man, you talk about refs that wouldn't call anything in this game. They let almost everything go. It was almost like to the point where, okay, somebody's cheating here at some point, but whether it was, the pass interference penalties that probably should have been called, holding penalties, guys getting tackled, on defense and stuff, they let them play. And they did play. But in the end, man, just a Cinderella story. And it really, there's nothing you can say about it. I mean, what were they? First team because of the college football playoffs to be 16-0, was it?
Well, actually, I believe Yale in 1893 was.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
But of any kind of modern era, yes, first 16-0 team.
Yeah.
And they're the last team to go undefeated in football and the last team to go undefeated in basketball.
Isn't that great? Yeah. Bobby Knight's, 76 team, yeah.
Yeah, the 75-76 season. Yeah. 32-0.
That's great symmetry there. And not for nothing, even though it was in Miami's home stadium, so to speak, the Indiana fans, I think, were at least 60-40 in that building. Maybe
they have the biggest. I didn't
that.
realize this, but they have the largest alumni base in America.
Isn't that crazy?
Of any university. I knew they were up there, but I didn't know they were the biggest.
Well, there's a lot in Florida, and I can tell you this because at my newspaper, and I guess it's still a newspaper, a man by the name of Nelson Pointer started the Tampa Bay Times, who is an IU grad. And forever and ever, our newspaper, of course, they have a great journalism school in Indiana, and they have forever hired many, many IU grads to come down here and work at the then St. Petersburg Times, now Tampa Bay Times. So we've long had a giant alumni from IU, with us locally in just our newspaper. But yeah, man, I can't imagine what that would be like, for forever and ever. And, the Big Ten, you follow it. I mean, to Michigan, to Ohio State, to anybody, Indiana was it was an automatic win. It was just a W, right? It was a question of how much you're going to beat them by. I
think they've had streaks against Ohio State and Michigan of 30 in a row that they've lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, they've always, okay, they were competitive. They had a few good players. Antoine Randall L. and Anthony Thompson was a running back that was really good. And they've had some players.
Ian Beckles,
Ian Beckles, absolutely. And they've had good players and players that go pro in this, but they've never had great teams.
Right.
They've won 3 bowl games before this season.
Total. Yeah.
Total. Yes.
Jeez.
Now, part of that was the Big Ten. Until 1974, if you didn't win the Big Ten, you couldn't go to a bowl game.
Oh, is that how long it was? But you had to go to the Rose Bowl or nothing?
Yeah. So in 1973, it gives some history. 1973, Ohio State, Michigan tied. The game was, I think, 10-10. So they tie for the Big Ten title. Ohio State had won the Big Ten title the year before, so Michigan should have gone to the Rose Bowl. But Michigan's quarterback, Dennis Franklin, broke his arm in the Ohio State-Michigan game. And so the Big Ten athletic directors voted to send Ohio State to the Rose Bowl instead. And Bo Schembechler raised holy hell about it, and they changed the rule that year. So the next season, Big Ten teams could go to bowl games if you didn't win the Big Ten.
Oh, wow. That's a great story.
Because Michigan, and like we don't get in this tangent, but from 72, 73, 74, went, I think it was 32-1 and never played in a bowl game.
Wow. Well, they're going now. A lot of Big Ten teams are going now, including, of course.
Yes. Now they get 15 of them or something in. But
right. And none bigger than right here in Tampa, Florida, by the way, where, like
the ReliaQuest Bowl. I mean, Jim McVay does it every year.
Every year he finds that Big Ten team. This year it was
Iowa beat Vandy.
That's it, baby. Yeah, no doubt about it. But, this was a game with, Miami, and I'm kind of happy for, I think there's certain things about sports that feels right, okay? If Notre Dame is good, if University of Miami is good, right? Like, it just feels right, and that generated a lot of interest. Now, if you could get, drag Florida State and Florida along with them one day, that would be good.
Now, remember, Miami barely got into the tournament.
I know.
Like,
Notre Dame's, they beat Notre Dame, but did Notre Dame beat Miami?
No, Miami beat Notre Dame, which is why
that was it. That's why they were in, and Notre Dame was at home.
Yeah,
right?
Notre Dame was ranked ahead of them every poll going into it by 2 or 3 teams, and then they ended up next to each other in the final one. So they finally leapfrogged Miami over Notre Dame.
Yeah,
and probably because the ACC didn't have a team in.
True.
Because Duke at 8-5 won the ACC.
Right.
Because they went 0-3 in non-conference, so they, but they still won the ACC based on conference record and got in the championship. So,
yeah. Well, it was an absolute gem of a national championship. Came down to the very end. I think if another completion or two, and they're going to be Carson Beck's throwing balls into the end zone, to see if they can pull it out. So it was dramatic and so well coached by Curt Cignetti. Like I said, I will never forget. Because I'm basically saying just kick the field goal, and to see him run a draw play and the way they executed it, and then the toughness of Mendoza taking those shots and getting in the end zone and scoring, I mean, it's just unbelievable. So great college football season, great college football championship. We had plenty of NFL news that occurred, and a big firing as well that we'll get to in just a second. I was just at International Plaza Mall yesterday, and I went upstairs and checked in on our friends at Breitling Boutique. And boy, what struck me right away was in the window, it's on the second floor, about the center of the mall, they have the big letters in the shield, NFL, and there are now 4 team watches. So what they're doing, they're celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different NFL team watches while supplies last. And these things are phenomenal, man. Beautiful chronomat watches. They have the team colors as the face of the watch, the logo inside. I mean, they are spectacular. Collector items, all of them. I saw the Jags. I think I saw the Dolphins, the Bucs, and one more I can't remember. But you got to get on down to Breitling Boutique because they have all kinds of watches, men's watches, like I mentioned, women's watches too, sports watches. These things are durable, and if your wife or girlfriend is looking for something, believe me, this is where she's going to find it. She can pick from a whole different array of colored wristbands. It is a spectacular store with great customer service. Spend some time in there. They're going to tell you about all their products. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. And when you go, make sure you tell them that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. So we had some coaching news, and I don't know that I was stunned by this. A lot of people are and were. But the Bills decided to fire Sean McDermott, their head coach. Mm-hmm. And McDermott, of course, very successful. I don't know how many, divisions they won. They've been to the playoffs about 7 or 8 times. made it to the AFC Championship a couple times, but just couldn't get over the hump. Obviously, with Josh Allen, including this past weekend, and so really good coach. Now a really really good head coaching opening, and I guess I liken it to Steve like a little like Dan Reeves, with the Denver Broncos, who won a lot and got to Super Bowls, didn't win them, and then they brought in Mike Shanahan, and they wound up winning two in Elway's final years. Tony Dungy,
I was gonna say it's more like that one because
yeah,
Dungy got them to the playoffs multiple times, but couldn't get them
4 out of 6 years.
Yeah, couldn't get them to the ultimate goal, the Super Bowl.
That's right. NFC championships, playoffs, and won the division, but couldn't get them over the hump. They bring in John Gruden, and it wasn't that Tony Dungy isn't a good coach. It certainly isn't that Sean McDermott's a bad coach, but you get to a point where you just feel, maybe you just need a different voice or something, I suppose. At any rate, they fired Sean McDermott, and I got to believe, I think if you gave true serum to John Harbaugh, for one, and maybe some others, that they would say, wish I'd have known that was going to happen, because maybe it wouldn't have been. Because look, Lamar Jackson is an MVP, two-time MVP, sitting in Baltimore waiting for a head coach, and now you have Josh Allen sitting in Buffalo waiting for a head coach. Boy, if those aren't two of the best situations that a new coach would want, I don't know what is, but sure seems like it to me that somebody's going to step into a great situation, and I also think that McDermott is going to find himself as a head coach very shortly too.
If I'm Tennessee, I go after him hard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even if you don't think he can get you to a Super Bowl, he can resurrect a program or a team and a franchise and
absolutely
build it. What he did in Buffalo. I mean, they 14 straight years without a playoff berth.
That's right. He's,
won the AFC East 5 times, I think.
Yeah,
in his time there.
No, he's got the resume, and of course, he had a great quarterback in Josh Allen, but he's a hell of a coach. What's interesting is that the people think that maybe if you were just going to look at the field now with Harbaugh gone, Tomlin doesn't appear that he's going to coach at all.
You'd have to trade for him. You'd have to give up assets.
You'd have to trade, yeah.
And I don't know if Pittsburgh wants to do that, to be honest.
And I don't know that Mike wants to coach either, so there's that. But the guy they're talking about is Brian Daboll, who was the offensive coordinator there, and was with Josh Allen, and would, obviously fired by the Giants. He might end up being the guy that they go with, So, but man, that's, you talk about an attractive situation. They're that team that they need somebody to get them over the hump. And there's just so many head coaching openings and offensive coordinator openings. Are still waiting on Cleveland. I mean, look, the Bucs, I think, would love to have either Todd Monken or Mike McDaniel if they could get either one. Both of them, however, have head coaching opportunities. Monken has interviewed twice now, I think, with the Cleveland Browns. McDaniel is, in demand, at least has talked to a whole bunch of teams, including, I think, Tennessee, and I know he talked to the Raiders. He was down in Miami talking to Tom Brady and Mark Davis and those guys. I think he's talked to just about almost every team that has an opening. But, and I keep reading this, and these NFL insiders are pretty plugged in, whether it's Jeff Darlington, or Albert Breer at Sports Illustrated, they say, and oh, by the way, Detroit hired an offensive coordinator, so he did interview for that job as well. So they say that, look, if it doesn't happen for him this cycle, if he doesn't find that head coaching job that really fits him, then he would be very amenable to going and being the offensive coordinator in a place like Tampa, where he has full autonomy. Todd Bowles will run the defense. He's not going to interfere. A lot of offensive weapons, obviously, and every day that goes by that he's not hired as a head coach, I think that could happen, Steve. I really do. I think that may actually occur here.
Well, this opportunity, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, checks a lot of boxes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a defensive coach, which means you're going to have complete autonomy of the offense.
Right.
Play calling, all that. I mean, Todd's not going to get involved other than, hey, we're kicking here on 4th and whatever. We're going for it, whatever. He's going to let him run the offense, which is, ultimately what McDaniel's going to want, I would think.
Right.
If you go to Detroit, then that job's full, but Dan Campbell's going to oversee a lot of things. Matter of fact, he took the job back this year. Now, he'd probably give Mike McDaniel more leash than other guys, but because of the resume and the pedigree. But in Tampa, you're going to have that autonomy, and two of the last 3 offensive coordinators went on to head coaching jobs.
Sure.
With a lot of the same talent, so you can get this offense going again, and. Not that you think this way or this is why you take a job, but if they want to move on from Todd Bowles at the end of the season, the offensive coordinator may already be there and the head coach in waiting. Well, you don't necessarily have that conversation, but he knows that.
Yeah, and Albert Breer said that quiet part out loud when he was writing about it. He said Mike McDaniel has made the rounds, and if I had to guess, he'll probably wind up as an offensive coordinator in the next week or so. I've heard Tampa Bay could be a good spot for him, and that if he does a good job, he could be set up to be Todd Bowles' eventual successor.
If he does a good job, the Glazers may not want to let another offensive coordinator walk away.
Right, with the experience of Liam Cohen. I mean, the bottom line is that and Todd knows this, that this is his last head coaching job because he's 61 years old. He's got kids playing college football. He never anticipated getting this opportunity. Not that he's not grateful for it and wants to win every game, but he had resigned himself to the fact that he was probably going to finish his career as a defensive coordinator. So this kind of fell into his lap unexpectedly, and he's had a great run with it. And so when it ends, it ends. I don't see him going and being a defensive coordinator and this sort of thing. I think he's just about at that point where he wants to enjoy life and his family and his sons that are playing. So, that's not to say, to your point, you don't go into the interview saying, I'll coach here if you can make me that successor. Those conversations probably aren't really voiced in that way. But there is an obvious, conclusion that you could. I mean, now if Mike McDaniel comes in here and the Bucs offense catches fire and they do anything to fix the defense, Todd Bowles is going to win the division again and maybe a playoff game or two, right? In which case, no one's asking for Todd Bowles' scalp. But he is closer to the end than he is the beginning, and I completely, wholeheartedly believe that a big part of this consideration is twofold. One, the Glazers really like Todd Bowles and want to see him succeed. Mm-hmm. But 2, they committed to him a 3-year contract that starts this year. And those, not that it's so much money that they can't overcome it, but those decisions are made and you want to see them pay off. And so I think they want to at least give him this season to see what he can do. And if he's got a Mike McDonald calling the plays with that offensive line, with those weapons, they're going to do well.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel. Yep.
Mike McDaniel. Why do I keep calling him McDonald? I have no idea.
You keep seeing the Seahawks in the NFC Championship.
It's McDaniel with one L, not S. It's McDonald with a lowercase d. I'm learning this from Greg Auman every day. So, but yeah, McDaniel would be. I think if you're just ranking them now, we haven't heard from Monken because again, he said he wasn't in a hurry. The Bucs aren't in a hurry. They have to exhaust these head coaching changes. And then there's all those staffs that they're forming, including the 3 coaches that have been hired. They're all going to need people. They're all going to need assistant coaches.
But meanwhile, the Bucs are interviewing another offensive coordinator, Dan Pitcher, who they've talked to previously.
They did. Mm-hmm.
When he was the quarterback's coach in Cincinnati. Now he's the offensive coordinator.
That's right. Now, the thing about Pitcher, who they really liked when he came here in 2023, at that time, Brian Callahan was the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. And I think Pitcher went back as a quarterback's coach, believing, and actually it was confirmed, that Callahan would get a head coaching job, which he did at Tennessee the next year. Mm-hmm. And so Pitcher was promoted to offensive coordinator. The difference is that he does not call plays. That goes to Zach Taylor, who's a head coach. And so much like Dave Canales or Liam Cohen, right, or even Josh Grizzard, those guys are willing to take this job and anxious to take this job in this case because they finally get that experience, right? They finally get to put that on their resume and see what they can do as a primary play caller. And I think that's why the Bengals pitcher has only worked for the Bengals in his NFL career.
Yep.
He worked his way up, all the way from the bottom to quarterback's coach to offensive coordinator, all that. And so, they're willing to say, okay, big guy, yeah, you're right. Zach's like, I'm going to keep calling plays. Go get your thing if you can get it. So they're going to give it looks like a lateral move, right? Except for the fact that he has that chance to have his own offense. So
yeah, the Bengals have they've told him, if you can go find an OC job that calls plays,
we won't stay in your way. That's right. And so, I think he has a good shot too. I think Zach Robinson has a good shot because he has called plays. You're not guessing what he's going to do. You have it on film. He's got 2 years experience. And the rest of them, a lot of these guys that they've interviewed, still waiting to call their first play, in the NFL. And that's kind of been what they've got every year since they fired Byron Leftwich. So, it could go a lot of different ways. I think as teams start hiring head coaches, they'll have offensive coordinators committed to them. You'll start to see the main coordinator jobs fill up. And I'm hopeful that maybe by the end of the week, like you said, Miami hired a head coach or reached an agreement, I guess, with one. So that's 3 down.
Yep. The hard part is the coordinators for, say, the Seahawks, the Rams, et cetera, can't interview any this week. By rule, they can't interview till Monday next week.
Yeah, and the Rams have Nate Shieldhouse. They got a bunch of guys. Pittsburgh hasn't really talked to many coaches,
Seattle's offensive coordinators on the list for several teams.
Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams. And I think you're right. It's gonna and then there might be guys on the 2 Super Bowl teams as well. But I think there's time in between that they can talk.
But the 2 weeks they can talk starting Monday again.
Right.
The week leading up to the Pro Bowl before the week before they can't do it the week of the Super Bowl, but leading up to the Pro Bowl they can. So,
but look, if Cleveland makes a decision, if Arizona makes a decision, if some of these other teams that guys like McDaniel have talked to make decisions and they're not part of it, and I don't know if Buffalo is going to have an interest in that sort of thing, but if they start, calling back the finalists, if you will, and McDaniel is not part of it, I could see, look, this is a plum offensive coordinator opportunity just because of the talent, if nothing else. I mean, there's plenty of talent on that offensive side with or without Mike Evans. And I could see where it would be very attractive. Again, maybe a lame duck coach, but you don't really worry about that if you're coming in here for your own personal reasons. This won't be a money thing for McDaniel because I'm sure he's owed money by the Dolphins, and so there'll be an offset. He's going to get paid what he was going to get paid for his final season in Miami, regardless of whether he's working or not. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Every day they're talking to somebody, and they got a lot of guys to hire. Man. Special teams coordinator. You got to have a defensive backs coach. You got to have a defensive line coach. All of that, quarterbacks coach. So a lot of positions still up for grabs, and man, hopefully they get to that pretty soon. And finally, we have hockey, baby. We got the Lightning taking on the San Jose Sharks, and I get these alerts on my phone, and the first thing I saw was goaltender fight. Like, I'm in for this, man. So apparently, San Jose was down playing the Florida Panthers, and Bobrovsky and the Sharks goaltender went toe to toe. Man, it was awesome.
There was a scrum behind the San Jose net, and Bobrovsky came charging down the ice, threw his gloves off, and went right after Nedeljkovic. Kind of surprised him.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good bout for a goalie fight. I mean, there was a lot of punches thrown. I don't think many connected, but
yeah, they both ripped their helmets off and they went to it, and then somebody ended up on the ground, and that was it. But
I think it's the first goalie fight in the NHL in 6 years.
It's awesome.
So, and the Sharks beat the Panthers, so they did the Lightning a favor, and then they'll be playing a back-to-back tonight. Yeah. So you hope the Lightning can jump on them early, and
maybe they expended a little too much energy there down in Florida. But
the Panthers did get Matthew Tkachuk back, though, so.
Yeah.
He had missed the whole season till tonight. So
Yeah, that's going to help them for sure. So he'll be ready. But Lightning still with that, 12-game point streak?
13.
I think 13 now? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. See if they can keep that going. I will not go to the game so that they have a chance. The ladies have dance tonight, so I will not be there. But I'm coming soon. I might have to wait for them to lose at home one time, and then I can be back. But my self-imposed what I'm really looking forward to is that what they would call the Winter Classic, but I guess it's not really
the Stadium Series. It's the Stadium Series.
Yeah, this would be a good week for it.
I saw Paul Delgado put a post. The long-range outlook looks like it's supposed to be colder than normal.
That's beautiful.
Weekend.
That's what we need, man.
I mean, it's still early. It's still just under 2 weeks out, but it looks promising so far.
That's what we need. Yeah, I saw where the temperature is going to be, pretty good, pretty cold for the next week or two.
Yeah, and they're starting to build the rink at Raymond James Stadium now. So
nice. That's exciting.
Yep.
I got to get tickets to that thing. I'm working on them very feverishly. They're not inexpensive, by the way.
They are not.
If you want good seats anyway, but it's going to be cool, man. What an atmosphere. Once in a lifetime type deal, right?
Well, hopefully not, but it might be. I mean, it's taken
could be a while
years.
before
it's taken over 30 years to get one here in Tampa Bay. So
yeah, and they're wildly popular, and they're going to go to a lot of different cities. So
yeah, 4 years ago, of course, the Lightning played in Nashville in their first outdoor game.
Yeah, and the Lightning fans took it over, and I think that's why there's a game here now. So
there was about 25,000 Lightning fans in Nashville that weekend.
Right. No, that should be great. Well, it's good to see the Lightning playing well. We've got lots of Bucs news all this week. Check it out on TampaBay.com, Tampa Bay Times. Make sure you get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. I'm telling you, man, every time I see these watches, I want one, and I'm going to get one eventually. Not now. I'm not a team guy, so I can't be sporting a Bucs watch or anything like that. But just the Chronomat watches in general, like these things are beautiful, man. I'd like a nice watch from Breitling Boutique. You will too.
Hey,
for
Valentine's
your wife, your
Day's coming up. Tell Valerie to get you one.
Well, that she listens to the podcast, hon. You don't see any jewelry on my wrist, and we went to David Yurman for you, so I'm just saying. But yeah, so get on down there, Breitling Boutique International Plaza, and please let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day.